For what's on in sport, you've got the Triple M Rush Hour with MG. For what's on at the Star, see thestarsydney.com.au.
And here we go.
Buckle up.
Here we go.
Because the run home just got a little bumpier.
You cannot be serious.
I've got to sit here every friggin' week.
There's got to be an investigation into this.
This is the Triple M Rush Hour with MG.
Yes, it's Magic Week on the Rush Hour. As we count you down to Magic Round, it gets underway this Friday. 16 teams, all 8 games at Suncorp Stadium over 3 fantastic days. And MG, it is great to have you in Brisbane. Finally, you've arrived.
Finally, I'm here, Queensland. Look out. As soon as you get off the plane, you just feel it, feel the vibe. And the Magic Round to me means little magic sprinkles of dust will be floating around Suncorp Stadium tomorrow, or Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday night. But the people of Brisbane and those who have come up for the weekend are just pumping. They can't wait for this round to happen.
Geez, they love you. Geez, you're popular up here.
G things have changed. G things have changed. Give it 20 years ago, they wouldn't have.
If you're battling away with your football tips this year, MG is going to give us his tips for Magic Round before the end of the show tonight. But we need to talk about something that's got... I've got the undies in a twist, MG. I'm not happy about this one. Let's get stuck into it.
The Triple M Rush Hour with MG. What's cracking? Brought to you by Kraken and Dry Premix, the taste you've been hunting for.
David Fifita has been suspended for 2 games after failing to have his charge overturned at the judiciary last night, MG. It was a grade 2 careless high tackle laid on Adam Dewey right at the end of the win over the West Tigers on the weekend. Failed to have it overturned, and for the life of me, I cannot understand it.
I'm with you, mate. I'm with you 100%. I can't believe that we're about to embark on this round this weekend, Magic Round, and one of our real superstars of the game is out because of a slip of the foot and a hand that went awry. Most in rugby league know that was not an intentional act. It was not a vicious act. It was not an angry act. It wasn't a harmful act. It was a reactive act that basically sees him sitting out for 2 weeks, which is a friggin' joke. I cannot believe it. I look at this. I'm not blaming anyone individually or particularly because I don't want to be sued. But in our game, when we've got something like this, when we've got such an overreaction of what happened with the Parramatta players the other night against Roosters, this is kind of a byproduct, I think. I think that he's a victim of what didn't happen last weekend to the Parramatta players. And now we've overreacted so much. Come on. Are we fair income? Do we want to eradicate the best players in our game because of a slip and an accidental slap on the side of their head, which wasn't one bit harmful? Like, come on. We're better than that. We are better than this as a game. Victor Radley, come on. Compare the 2 tackles. One gets off, one gets 2 weeks. It should have been the other way around. My head is blown here. I can't believe that I won't be watching Fifita play this weekend against the Panthers on Sunday night. I just think the game has robbed us of a real spectacle because with him in the team, at least they're a chance. Now they're not.
The Victor Radley comparison is the perfect one, MG. I went back and watched the 2 tackles side by side, and you played the game at the elite level. You know what it's like making those split-second decisions and as you say, slipping or putting a foot wrong or getting done by a step. As a fan, I watched those 2 tackles back side by side, and I thought the Radley one was worse. I thought Victor's tackle was worse than the one laid by David Fifita.
Of course it's worse.
I then went back and read the defence that was put forward by the Sydney Roosters representatives at the judiciary that night.
So you've done some forensic investigation. I like it.
I did, to understand the decision and Graham Annesley and Andrew Abdo released a statement a couple of weeks back about the independence and the, how people shouldn't be questioning the judiciary. And we're not questioning the independence of this mob. That's not what we're saying. I think we're both just saying they got this one wrong because you look at the defence mounted by the Roosters legal team for this, Victor Radley those weeks ago against the Storm. You could have copy-pasted that defence for David Fifita last night. You could have Control-C, Control-V. You didn't have to do anything more, and yet somehow a completely different verdict is arrived at, and we see this superstar out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a crying shame. It's a dead set crying shame that we won't be seeing one of the best players in our game. And look, the last thing we want is to let players off who have done something wrong. We don't want to do that. We're not. I think we're on the same page as rugby league connoisseurs. What David Fifita did wasn't bad. Wasn't malicious. It wasn't intent. it was 2 minutes to go in the game. He was buggeredly tired, and he slipped. And he put his hand out, and he copped Dewey. Dewey got up with a smile on his face, and Fafita got 10 minutes for it. That should have been sufficient.
Well, as a Titans fan, but not even just Titans fan this weekend, MG,
Rugby
you
league
summed it
fan.
up. Rugby league fans should be disappointed that we don't get to see this guy play this week, given there's a precedent for him to be out there. The Victor Radley is the perfect comparison why David Fafita should be playing this Sunday.
I've got no doubt that David Fafita is a victim of the Bunkers' incompetence last weekend against the Roosters and Parramatta, and he's paying the price for something someone else done.
We are, of course, closing in on Magic Round, which kicks off this Friday night. Gordon Tallis, MG, I caught up with him at Suncorp Stadium. Gordy shared some stories about what he loves about that fantastic ground as well. That's coming up. But we want to focus in on Queensland a little bit. For the last last month or so, you've been giving us your way too early New South Wales State of Origin side.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, but today we want to flex on that, given that we are here in Brisbane. We want you to look at the Queensland side. You gave your New South Wales side last week, and you'll give an updated one next week off the back of Magic Round. But today, I want you to try and name a Queensland side at the moment that you'd be most fearful of as a New South Welshman.
Oh, geez. All of them, really, because they hold the crown. So, look, you got to have Ponga's back. That's one reason to be nervous. On the wings, you've probably got the two towering Oates and Coates.
And I like that from a niceness to the ears perspective. It's nice to have rhyming wingers, I think.
Yeah, Oates and I think the centres they'll probably have Gagai and Capewell. Then we're looking at the halves, obviously Munster, DCE. Up front, they've got Welsh, along with obviously Harry Grant. He's the biggest scare factor. He's the biggest fear factor for mine. They can throw anyone in the front row with Welsh, Papali, if he's back to form. Back row, Kafusi, Fafita, Jaden Sewer, and lock, of course, will be Tino Fasua Malaawi. A very much informed team. And and a team that probably will be having a little bit more confidence than last year's team. 2 or 3 people in the media were saying that it's the worst Queensland team ever. But this is far from it. But this scares me in the fact that Fafita will be back. He's in barnstorming form. Someone like Tino, who's just peaking at his powers. He probably hasn't scratched the surface yet. DCE is a classic gamesman who just steers the ship perfectly, and Cam Munster, who's the joker in the pack. Well, if none of that scares you, you haven't got a heartbeat, because they are a scary team.
Hearing you read that side out, I mean, some of those names, but the likes of Kurt Capewell and Tino, they sort of established themselves at the Origin level last year in the end of year series. But that is a terrifying. That team unbelievably sounds in better form than the New South Wales lineup. Oh,
I think it is. Especially in the back row, where look, we might be forced to use someone in the back row who is out of form, i.e. a Tyson Frizzell or Tarek Sims starting to roar into a bit of form, so that's a good thing for him.
Wow.
But yeah, look, I think we'll come up with a team that's formidable.
Of course.
I think, just quickly our back line will be something like Tedesco with Tommy Turbo maybe on a wing with the Fox, and in the centres you're going to have Latrell with probably Jack Whiten at the moment, with Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary at the half. So I'd personally have Turbo in the centres, and I'd put Brian Toto on the wing, because I think he's the best meter eater in the game. You're going to need it come Origin.
Just quickly, going back to that Queensland side, Papali.
Yeah,
you still got him starting? You still picking?
Yeah, of course. He'll start. He could be in reserve grade, and they'll still play him. He puts on that maroon jersey, or he puts on the green jersey most years, and there's only been this year that the lack of form, and that's why Jack Whiten's kind of out of favour a little bit, because when you're not in the winning circle, you're kind of out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, and that's exactly what the Canberra Raider players are.
All right, well, MG, I know I asked you to do it, but I'm now regretting the fact that you've named that Queensland side.
I couldn't give a 4X about him, to be honest. Let them bring their strongest. Let them bring him.
Ah, there he is. He's back. He's back. Outstanding. All right.
Discover the magic of Brisbane at Suncorp Stadium's NRL Magic Round this weekend. There's plenty of fun to be had in Brisbane before and after kickoff. The Rush Hour's Magic Round Tour.
Good song, Dragon. Oh, yeah.
Love it when you sing along with the openers.
Oh, I love Dragon.
Hey, it is Magic Round. We're getting you ready. It gets underway Friday night, the first game of the round. West Tigers v Newcastle Knights. And then it wraps up on Sunday when your Penrith Panthers take on my Gold Coast Titans, which disappointingly will be without David Fafita. But, MG, Magic Round, the excitement up here. You've arrived in Brisbane. You can feel it. Discover the magic of Brisbane at Suncorp Stadium's NRL Magic Round this May. There is plenty of fun to be had in Brisbane before and after kickoff. I experienced some magic, MG, today.
Yes.
When the Raging Bull, before you landed in Brisbane, the Raging Bull took me out into the middle of Suncorp Stadium and shared with me some stories about what it was like to be the Raging Bull at Suncorp Stadium. But I had never heard this story before, MG. The Bull played for New South Wales.
He certainly did.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. Under 18s.
I was dumbstruck in the middle of Suncorp Stadium. I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. I just couldn't
That makes two of us on my debut. I was 19 and dumbstruck. I mean, well, what am I doing here?
Well, Gordy, he shared that and his experiences of what it's like to sit in the stadium as a fan when we caught up with him at Suncorp Stadium earlier today.
A lot of the old blokes still call it Lang Park, and because that's what it was called, and that's where they come, and that's the history of the place. And I was fortunate enough. I played at the old Lang Park. I played for New South Wales. Believe it or not, I played on this ground. Not too many people know.
On this ground?
On this ground. That's the first time I've told this story in the stadium. Yeah. So I got picked for New South Wales under-19s before you had to play State of Origin. I wanted to play for Queensland. I was playing for the Dragons in the younger grades, and they said, so I played, and there was John Hopewadi, Rodney Howe. We had a really good side back then. Luke Ricketson. And we came and played Queensland here. I think we beat them 28 points to 10 or something like that. And Hopper was giving it to the crowd over in the corner. They were throwing cans at us. The boys did a lap of honour. I didn't. That's one thing I didn't do. I stood over here. I was a Queensland. I wasn't going to rub it in. And I knew that when you got to the can bar, you're in trouble.
You've told us about some of the games you played, but can you recall any specific moments from your career? A hit, a tackle, a try?
No, I don't. I remember sitting at home on the couch with Dad when the first Origin was played, and then sitting there getting up, and it was the only day because it was always on a school night, and being able to sit up and watch the Origin. So that's what Origin was to me. And then fast forward at 13 years, I'm playing, and Wally Lewis is the coach, Mel Meninga's the captain. So those guys I watched when I was 7, they're in the team, and Alan Langer and Trevor Gilmeister. So I don't know what it is, and you know how it's just different? You get a different feel, and you can't really explain to people if they haven't been there, sort of thing. So I can be the Broncos captain and walk the streets, and we can go and have a beer, and someone will say g'day, or they won't. Yeah. Through Origin time, everybody comes over and pats you on the back and say, how are we going to go? Yeah. I still get it. I've been retired for a long time. Gordy, how are we going to go, mate? Get in there and help us. So I don't know why a Queenslander feels different about Origin, but it's from their kid when they grew up, and it'll be a moment when Wally did something or whatever. My favourite moment, Fox asked me, like, what was it? And I said, I remember sitting here and Billy Slater, he was onside when that kick went through from Lockie, and he might have been.
Was he
I
though?
don't know, but it might have been. And then Billy gets it, and I tell you what, they looked at it a million times not to give it to him. And then he chipped, and then Minicello and tried. Like, I love that. Like, then they come here, and then I had sitting up here in the stands, and my favourite moments at this ground, I went on my fan. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and I was about right in line when Cooper Cronk kicked the field goal. Remember when he kicked it from here, and every part of his body come together.
What was it? It all came together in one beautiful synchronicity or whatever.
Something like that.
Something along those lines.
Something along those lines.
We can't use your words, Cooper. We don't have them. We're not capable.
He patented it too, and I don't want to. And then I had my son Jack, and he must have been about 8 on the time. I jumped up. I had a beer in one hand, I had my son on, and I've jumped. And I didn't realise he's gone 2 rows forward because I've just had him here, and I've jumped, and he's flipped over. So, but at least he landed on people because they weren't jumping as high as me. But they're the moments that I remember of myself here.
That's incredible.
Because I'm a fan. So then rugby league, I was a fan. Started as a sandboy, ball boy, and then I got to run out.
MG, you ever thrown your kids in the stadium?
Oh, great! That was awesome. That's goosebump stuff, and he sets a great scene. It is. It's a special arena. Lang Park was kind of eerie for New South Wales boys to go up to, and I suppose once they've changed it to the Suncorp Stadium that is now, it's kind of become more away team centric because you don't feel so haunted by this the ghosts of Origin back from 1980. So it's kind of more palatable for current players, but it's still a beautiful ground to watch footy from.
Yeah, outstanding. If you want to check out the full interview, the full video with Gordy, you can check out our socials at Rush Hour Triple M. We'll get all that up there. Thank you to Gordon Tallis, the Raging Bull. As always, for his time, he'll be part of our call team across the weekend. And you should be discovering the magic of Brisbane at Suncorp Stadium's NRL Magic Round this weekend. There's plenty of fun to be had in Brisbane before and after kickoff.
Love footy? You'll love Seeker's Footy Tipping with weekly prizes up for grabs so you can join in anytime. Sign up now at seekerfootytipping.com.au. Seeker, your go-to product on the worksite. And now, MG's tips. Oh, he's got some new highlights, has he?
No, mate, we're talking about footy tips.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, let's get stuck
Certainly does.
Let's get stuck into MG's Magic Round footy tips. If you want all of the tips, if you're battling that hard in your footy tipping comp that you need them all, grab the Listener app and make sure you listen to our round preview podcast where MG walks us through every single game and who wins and why. But tonight we're going to focus on just a couple, MG, and we're going to start with the Magic Round opener. Friday night, 6 o'clock, the West Tigers taking on the Newcastle Knights. And do you think the Madge Maguire most recent shuffle, which sees Adam Dewey move to the centres, Moses Mbai into the halves, your prodigy Sean Bloor return to the bench, Jake Simpkin drop for the return of Jacob Little, do you think that will pay off against the Knights?
No, I don't. I don't think it's enough. I understand why they put Dewey in the centres for a bigger body, but I don't like weakening one position to strengthen another. And I reckon having Moses Mbai at 5'8" is doing that because Adam Dewey's been such a good player this year. He's been the standout with Dane Laurie for this team. I don't know why you'd move a guy who's been your best. I just don't get it. And the Knights, on the other hand, they had a great win from behind last week, and I think they'll be too strong for the Tigers.
All right, let's move along to Saturday night where you've got the Roosters taking on the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are just grinding along after a bit of a bumpy start under Todd Payten. They seem to have been finding something. That 1-point win over the Broncos last week was very hard fought. But this is a contingent tip that you're putting out there, MG. Victor Radley and Sam Walker both named. Victor's got a concussion protocol he'll obviously need to pass, and Sam Walker is dealing with a shoulder concern. And you're tipping the Roosters if...
Yeah, I think young Walker has both a shoulder and ankle, and that's going to happen to the kid in such a tough, uncompromising competition when you're so small. And he's so full on. He just doesn't back down. So I think if them two are out, if Walker and Radley are out, I'm leaning towards the Cowboys, the resurgent Cowboys, who are now 11th on the ladder. A good win from behind against the Broncos, with a nice field goal from Val Holmes to put the icing on the cake, and all the players that we wanted to play well. Taumalo's back to running 200 metres. The signs are looking good for the Cowboys. It's looking real good. And the Roosters will have to be on guard because they've got a lot of points in them, the Cowboys. But I think if those two play, Walker and Radley, I think the Roosters will prevail in a tight one.
That'd be a huge win for the Cowboys. Potentially could see them sitting inside the 8 after round 10 if they were to get up, although the Sea Eagles, the Knights, some other teams on similar points have got winnable games. Last one for tipping segment today, MG. It's your upset of the round. You've looked over the fixture and you've picked out one upset.
I have, and with all the toing and froing of players, I've looked at that upset and I'm predicting that the Dragons will beat the injury-ridden Melbourne Storm. And tell our listeners exactly from the Storm, Liam, who are out.
Yeah, it is significant. It's maybe not as brave a tip as a lot of people would think on paper. Look, we know Ryan Pappenhausen's been out. Nico Hines has been doing a fantastic job at fullback. But this week, as well as Ryan Pappenhausen, there's no Cam Munster, there's no Harry Grant, and there's no Brandon Smith. So you could argue the 4 best players for the Melbourne Storm not there this weekend against the Dragons.
Yeah, look what happened to the South Sydney team last week against Melbourne when they had 4 of their best players out, and you just can't. No team can afford it. No team can afford to have 4 of their best players out in these games anymore. The gap isn't that large because they showed last week, and to have Kenny Bromwich playing dummy half, which I don't think he will. I think Riley Jacks, who's been brought in from Munster, will play a lot of dummy half. And I think Kenny Bromwich will play like maybe a running centre or 5'8", but Jerome Hughes will control everything. He'll be the man. And Nico Hines, I think he'll play a little bit of a ball playing as well. But I think the Dragons will be up for this one. They'll know that, look, come September, if they have a win, a big W in the column against the team that won the comp last year, no matter, they won't care if there's a
Absolutely not.
They won't give a damn. They'll say, we beat Melbourne. So when we play them in the semis, we can beat them again, boys. Come on.
So. There you go. I love it. All right, there's some tips from MG for round 10. If you love your footy, you will absolutely love Seeker's Footy Tipping. It's got weekly prizes up for grabs. You can join in any time. Even if this is your first weekend tipping, you can still join. Sign up now at seekerfootytipping.com. Seeker is your go-to product on the work site. And good on MG for tipping against his Panthers for the first time this season. He's backing in the Titans to get it done in the final game of Magic Round. Did you not?
No, mate.
I thought you tipped.
No.
I thought you tipped
Panthers by a fair bit, buddy, against your Titans.
Come on, mate. Oh, well.
What's our bet this round? Let's have a bet.
Well, we're up here for Magic Round. We're in Brisbane. What if we put just a nice dinner on it?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, this is a Sunday night, so let's say that the loser of this one play next week at down in Sydney. They buy lunch.
What about loser pays for our dumplings, regular Tuesday dumplings feed that we have?
Done.
There we go. There's the bet. We'll put that up on our Instagram at Rush Hour Triple M on Tuesday, and when the Titans get up, you can bet that I'll be ordering off the top shelf.
You can order
It'll
up.
It'll be
buddy.
the first time you've seen a man drinking Johnny Walker Blue with dumplings at 11:30 on a Tuesday.
Yeah, ready, didn't Typhoon.
Hey, we got to get out of here. No Thursday night footy tomorrow. I know it feels weird, but it just means you get more Rush Hour, which we love. MG, we're going to get out of here.
As always, thank you so much for your ears. He's Liam. I'm MG. Wherever you are, stay random.
For what's on in sport, you've got the Triple M Rush Hour with MG. For what's on at the Star, see thestarSydney.com.au.